Lots of squelching, but so far, no rain. Be quiet, pups. Don't say the word rain. I think we've gotten away with it, as they say. 3 weeks of rain we've had on this photo walk. Today, it's dry. Dry, pups, dry. Let's make a sketchbook picture to start the show. I've not been posting my sketchbook photos for a good few weeks now. It's not necessarily because I don't like them or anything like that, although they are a bit samey at the moment. It's only because I seem to have an edit fest on my hands, what with Bangladesh and India and places coming up, and making sure there's lots of photo walk stuff done, so that even though we're away making shows for you as well, of course, there's still stuff going on. But let me get a sketchbook. What should we photograph along the dry-ish path? What about this? I do have a penchant, a passion, an interest in fence work that is falling down. 400 shutter speed f4, ISO 160. There we go. Falling down fence work. Maybe because it reminds me of the stuff I need to get fixed at home.
If there's a story happening, you don't get to choose when it's happening or the time of it or the location. And therefore, things like making plans for birthdays and holidays kind of go out the window. Everything's caveated with, well, I'll try to do that, but if something happens, I'll have to go. And I realised just how difficult that is from somebody else's perspective to try and live with somebody that is ready to drop everything and just leave a moment's notice.
That's Cathal McNaughton, my guest on the show today. Returning actually to talk to us. Sometimes I set off on my merry way with a conversation thinking it's going to go one way, and then it goes entirely in another. And I like that very much. Now, Cathal's been a guest, as I say, on the show before, but much nearer the start of this whole photo walk adventure, when it was actually under a different name as well, the Photography Daily Show. Anyway, some background to this extraordinary photographer and human. Hang on, got some mud coming up. Navigate the mud first, if you don't mind, Cathal, and then I don't want to get a boot full of water, as so often seems to end up at the moment that way. Ooh, it is. Yeah, life story. Cathal McNaughton is a photojournalist based in out of a wonderful cottage somewhere in Ireland. Honestly, it's an amazing location. When I do talk to him, I see out of his window the glens. Beautiful, fantastic place. But his work has taken him far from there into the middle of some of the biggest stories of our time. He won the Pulitzer Prize in 2018 for his coverage of the Rohingya. I know sometimes it's pronounced Rohingya crisis, refugee crisis, although we don't talk about that side of his work today. You might think, oddly, but I'll link to the episode where he does. He's been the chief photographer for Reuters in India, and he spent years working across Asia and Europe for organisations like Reuters, the Press Association, the Daily Telegraph. Oh, the list is reasonably long, as you can imagine. His pictures have appeared all over the world, and along the way he's picked up awards like the UK Press Photographer of the Year, Royal Photographer of the Year, Environmental Photographer of the Year. So there's a few of those. But alongside the assignments, the photographic assignments, Cathal teaches, and I think we touch on that today. He grew up in Ireland during the height of the Troubles, and it was meeting photographers who'd come from all over the world to document that period that really pushed him toward the camera and making stories with it in the first place. That alone would be a special that could last a month. But actually today, I'm not sure the conversation chose this route or whether we navigated it in this direction, but we talk about him. Yeah, about the photographer. Not necessarily the story, although we will of course touch on stories. Because whilst he spent a fair amount of his life making stories about other people, it's a recent film about him, and also a personal discovery that I was simply not expecting in our chat that has turned the focus, full pun intended, of our conversation upon him. Now, if I had all the time in the world, cue the song, so we're sort of in Neil fantasy land, I'd be on the next ferry across the wilds of the Irish Sea to go visit and walk with him. As long as he said that was all right, of course, and his famous dog Murphy was alongside us. So today, a Pulitzer Prize winner, yes, a well-travelled photojournalist, yes, somebody I'd very much like to walk on a photo walk with, yes. But really, this is an opportunity to talk with a photographer who still dreams in pictures, and that's why it's called what it is today. Despite having had serious doubts in this post-pandemic world about whether he actually still wanted to even own a camera.
Today on the Photo Walk.
It actually took maybe 5 years of no longer listening to the news or owning a camera to reset my brain, probably. I'm a very different person than I was the last time we spoke, for the better. I think the difficulty was actually dealing with home life was the more difficult thing. But there's a very, very good reason for that, which I'm going to tell you now. The world didn't really seem to make sense to me. I felt there was something wrong with me. That picture has become more important to me over the years, and the actual meaning of it has become deeper.
That's Cathal McNaughton, my guest on the Photo Walk today. Along the way, I'll also be reading some of your letters, the moments and meanderings you've sent in about life and what you notice when you head out with a camera. A show shaped just as much by you as the wonderful guests who speak with me week on week. I'll dip into the mailbag in a moment to see what's waiting for us. But first, thank you to our Patreon members of our community, the extra milers, as I know you, because this show simply would not be here without you week after week. And every week there is an extra show available through Patreon. It's called The Extra Mile, and this week features a very special guest for reasons that will become clear in a short while. And a big thank you to the sponsor of the show, arthelper.ai. It's a tool that helps photographers sell their work or your work online by taking care of that stuff most of us put off. Things like posts and mock-ups and marketing emails. If you've ever thought I could sell my work in 2026, I've got some great photographs, but you've got no idea where to begin, well, arthelper.ai take a lot of that off your plate. You can try it free for 30 days using the code PHOTOWALK when you head to arthelper.ai. Right, on the show, Richard Rawlings finds words in prose to go alongside his photography as he finds peace on his walk. As we approach Feb 1, if you haven't started a 365 yet and you're thinking, oh, too late, have to wait another year. Well, Marilyn Davies may give you the confidence and mojo and, well, real reason to start yours in a day or so's time. And Jaki G is walking with Phil Penman, yes, in Lisbon. Usually, of course, the Englishman in New York. And I have a question. Would you like to go camping? I have a particular workshop coming up in the summer, this coming summer, that I know you'll enjoy. So, shall we walk? Checklist out. Coffee, check. Garibaldi's, check. Dog treats, check. Have you got some spare film or an extra SD card? Check. Waterproof walking boots today? Check. And a periscope for the deeper puddles, the normal for Sabarkalot. Check. Let's walk then. It's the Photo Walk show of a Friday. Thank you for joining us as we walk our paths together in our community. Now, I've been trying to retrain YouTube of late. Problem is, I watched more than a couple of videos covering some of the stuff in the news of late that frankly defies any known human logic. That would be all the news then, would it, Neil? Perhaps yes. Anyway, YouTube decided it wanted to reset my mental state from mildly on alert to where's the nearest shelter where I could take 1 year's worth of tin food and a blanket to hide under. And I must admit, I wasn't appreciating it. It certainly wasn't doing my mental health much good of a morning. So I've had to start retraining the algorithm, if that's even possible. The only way to do that is of course look up stuff so that it thinks, oh, this is what you're into. I don't know whether you can hear in the background Pinstriped Express going through. Oh, that's a long train. Lots of pinstripers in that one. So my search has turned into Simon Brodkin comedy specials, delicious stir-fry recipes, yes, really, and beginner Tai Chi, which I have to say, the latter one has confused the bejingles out of me, but I'm very interested in it. If you do it, I'd love to hear from you. So I think also YouTube has been a bit confused about it too. It's thrown up some facts, though, that I think are very pertinent to this little show that we share here each week. So perhaps my retraining of the algorithm is working, because a couple of films have been really interesting and they've delivered me some thoughts about walking that I thought, well, I'd like to share that. So the latest joys to spring forth from the tube of you include some morning walking facts that I thought that I'd note down and read back. Some of this stuff I know you know, but for the sake of my other listener who you know doesn't listen quite as well. A short morning walk helps regulate your circadian rhythm and body clock. Moving early tells your body that the day's started and helps set the timing for energy and sleep later on as well. If you thought circadian rhythm was, I don't know, a Canadian skiffle band, you're wrong. You should look it up. Walking in the morning lowers cortisol, the hormone linked to stress, which comes free, I think, with Facebook. Starting the day with movement calms the nervous system before the pressures of a day stack up. Here's an interesting one, all about forward movement, which apparently is really precious to your morning reset. Repetitive movement, 1 foot in front of the other, simple as 1 foot forward, left, right, i.e. walking, helps the brain process thoughts more clearly. Walking can reduce the symptoms of mild depression. And then this one, it creates space for observation, awareness, and noticing detail. That habit of noticing tends to stay with you long after the walk ends. So yeah, I know some of these seem to be from the College of the blindingly obvious, but I'm pleased first of all to have my YouTube algorithm partially reset, and also I thought they were quite interesting thoughts. Anyway, on that note, playing perfectly into it is the first letter from Richard Rawlings. It's just a short one, but it's going to go into a poem which I'm going to ask my studio self to read. Hello, Neil. I enjoy your podcast. When I'm stuck in traffic, I can think about you walking and actually picture myself there, not necessarily on your path, but where I go to get my bit of peace. So I thought I'd share a few words with you to give you an idea about how much going out with a camera means to me, hence me reading some of those thoughts from YouTube this morning too. Now, Richard sent in a few poems, and if you visit his Instagram, you'll note that peppered might be the right word. Peppered through his posts are some that have poems and some thoughts from the path. And I thought we'd start this week with one from Richard. This one is called Once More, I Dream of Escape. Once more, I dream of escape. So I walk, one step in front of the other, and carry myself to the wide open spaces. Fields stretch out, light clouds drift lazily. The river slides past me. A soft breeze moves my clothes. I feel it all in my soul, the land, the slow passage of millennia, the steady gentle pace, grounded. As I breathe, I let go of the day. Life fades into the background. Something more comforting returns. Quieter than what I'm supposed to be. This show really comes from you, your letters, your thoughts, from the bits of life that you notice when you're out walking, when you're thinking, just like Richard there, when you're making photographs or when you're not making any at all. You don't even have to call yourself a photographer. If you like a decent wander, then this show is for you, and our community is here to share thoughts. Phones count as cameras here. If you'd like to write into the show, then stories@photowalk.show is the address. stories@photowalk.show. I will, by the way, put a link to Richard's work, his Instagram, on the show page today. Make sure you go to the show page because it has lots of pictures that are made either by our guests as reference or, of course, from the letters that are written in. I'd like to do a quick plug, if I may, for a new-ish podcast called Reflections, which from the start of the year is now available, or from the start of the year has now been available as a Monday through Friday show on its own channel. Reflections is the name. It's grown wings. It's become a thing. I made a thing, as that Clarkson chap says. Anyway, Reflections are short stories of life. Many do have an absolute photographic connection. Some, as per yesterday's, called Doodlebug Baby, don't really. They have a kind of connection, but it's more about the people I meet along the so-called path through the lenses, well, either the lenses of my eyes or those attached to my Fuji. So there's a bunch of links on the show page today which will help take you to the podcast. Otherwise, just look up Reflections on your podcast player app. Look for the one by Neil James and you're there. It's a place actually to put all my thoughts about this thing called life, as much as anything, down on paper, then out through the microphone. Episodes this week include Bury Your Dog in the Mud Somewhere Else. That was an intriguing start to the week. Expertise, the year 2226. My good friend Giles contacted me and said, "Are you okay?" It was definitely a trippy one, that one. And the one that I've just mentioned. I'm not quite sure what today's is actually, because I'm going to level with you here. I'm going to be honest, I've not written it yet. These do sometimes get written on the day, literally, overused L word, the day before. Right, plug done. Here's Cathal McNaughton for the first part of our conversation today. I've mentioned who he is and a little of our history right at the head of the show. Needless to say, this 4 or 5 year catch-up, near enough, maybe a little less, really does go in a personal direction that I was not expecting. Part 1 of our chat today, here's Cathal McNaughton. Carl, it's a good few years since we last spoke on this show. More than a few, actually. A lot has happened in your life. There's a film to talk about. There's the Ukraine trip that you made. But I just want to start with some slightly fluffier stuff. We'll start with Murphy, actually, on that note. Murphy's still around. I know that because just a moment ago he was making his presence felt before we started recording.
Yep, thankfully Murphy is still here, and he's my shadow and constant companion. That hasn't changed. No. Sometimes he's more welcome than others, like right now. But anyway,
I saw his picture in Instagram. He looked like he was winking at the camera or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Murphy's good. There's more warmth towards Murphy on Instagram than there is to me, so we have a funny relationship.
Yeah, it is odd when you can put really potent pictures of news situations up, and then you put a picture of Murphy in it. Seems to get more engagement for a couple of days, doesn't it? And that is Instagram for you. And last time we were talking, you were making a van as well, or something. Is that project still ongoing, or
no? Things change a lot. That van has come and gone. I've enjoyed it, and the van is now gone, and I'm actually thinking about building another van at this point.
Well, you were panelling it with your dad, weren't you, or something?
Yeah, I kitted it out. It was a work of art. My dad was a a bit of a master craftsman. So he helped me during lockdown to turn it into like a cross between a Swedish lodge and yeah, I don't know, but it was very Instagram friendly, but it's since gone.
I always felt that your van was a bit like the original disco unit I built for myself as a DJ when I think I built it out of a mahogany sideboard or something with the help of my dad. He was pretty good in the shed, but it was the heaviest bloody disco unit you've ever tried to move around. And I always had that sort of thought that your van would never move very far because it was so beautifully crafted.
No. The van was certainly fit for purpose, and it actually became a bit of a side hustle for me for a while. I was renting it out for a little while, but yeah, the van, like most vehicles, rust started to appear more than wood grain, so it was time to move it on.
So a new one is on the way. Will that be a something for photographing from, or?
Yeah, it's going to be part of a new project that I'm working on in Ireland that I've actually begun, and it'll be a moving sort of office and somewhere to sleep as I travel around the country.
What's the project?
It's called Island, and it's basically a contemporary look at the island of Ireland right now, and all the elements that make that up. So everything from direct provision to the LGBTQ plus community to the wee local woman working down the supermarket. I want it to be an accurate reflection of what the country or the island looks like right now through my eyes. And so it'll not just be your usual donkeys and pints of Guinness, it'll be everything, although there should be donkeys and pints of Guinness included in it. Yeah, it's sort of a project that's very, very close to my heart, so I'm really enjoying working on that right now.
You've definitely had, and as the film is about to spell out in a moment when we talk about it, this sort of love-hate with going away, if that's correct. Perhaps that's the wrong way to phrase it. And now it feels that you're preferring your work closer to home, being in and on your island.
Yeah, on my own private island. Yeah, I share it with a few other million people, but I look at it as mine, and they're all guests. But as you've said, a lot has changed in the last few years, and you'll probably do a recap or something with your listeners. But yeah, family life has, and a few personal changes have meant I've had to become maybe less selfish in my outlook, and therefore I can't go away just as much as I would like to maybe.
Yeah.
But I've realised that we all have to make sacrifices, and it's not really a sacrifice if it's for your family. I just can't be going away to the same locations that I used to.
Well, Don McCullin talks about that, doesn't he? And I'm sorry to bring out the obvious one when talking about this sort of subject, but he did talk about how patient he felt his family had to be, that he should just up sticks and go whenever it felt good for and right for him.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about the photography game or photojournalism is that you don't get to. I wasn't able to find a healthy balance between family life and my photographic life. I wasn't able to split them in any way. It was either all one or all the other. And if there's a story happening, you don't get to choose when it's happening or the time of it or the location. And therefore, things like making plans for birthdays and holidays kind of go out the window. Everything's caveated with, I'll try to do that, but if something happens, I'll have to go. And I realised just how difficult that is from somebody else's perspective to try and live with somebody that is ready to drop everything and just leave at a moment's notice.
Do you think you balanced it now?
Yeah, there's a much, much greater balance now, but it wasn't easy coming to that balance. It actually took maybe 5 years of no longer listening to the news or owning a camera to reset my brain, probably reset my person, because I started this game when I was 16. Yeah. My 40th birthday is just a couple of days ago, and Yeah, I was hardwired in a way that made me extremely focused and reasonably good at what I did. But it was to the detriment of any personal relationships or family life.
I mean, you did give up the job that you said you loved, and we'll come to that in the film now, which we'll chat about. Was there any resentment at all at having to give up something that you so dearly loved, and putting the television down and the radio down, and not reading newspapers and getting rid of cameras? And I mean, there's left turns at the traffic lights, and there's the changes you made.
It was definitely very, very hard. And of course, I don't know if resentment's the right word, but although it was the right decision to make, and I'm very pleased I made that decision, I have no regrets, it doesn't mean it was easy to live with. It took a long time to come to terms with. But I think I'm a better person for it because I had to do a lot of reflecting. Of course, lockdown, which we've all seemed to forgot about, gave me plenty of time to self-reflect. I'm a very different person than I was the last time we spoke, for the better. Not that I was ever a bad person, but I'm a very different person. My outlooks are very different.
Does that mean in any way you stay clear of talking about your past photographic missions, such as Rohingya?
No, not at all. I have no issue with that. This is the interesting thing. I don't lie awake at night thinking about them. Of course, at the time, I'm empathetic, and it is terrible what we're doing, but I believe I have I'm doing something just and right. It's not things like that. It's the fact that maybe that to cover the Rohingya, I had to leave my family behind and forget about them for a few weeks or whatever. And I literally do just forget about it. Whenever I go on on an assignment, it's all consuming, and it's all I think about. And that's a very safe space to be, but it's also a way of running away from something, because you don't have to think about all the other normal, mundane comings and goings of your daily life. So I've come to realize that, yes, it wasn't difficult for me to go and photograph those things, but I think the difficulty was actually dealing with home life was the more difficult thing. But there's a very, very good reason for that, which I'm going to tell you now, because I just discovered, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, that I am ASD, so I'm autistic. And all of a sudden, all these things have started to make sense. My behaviors and my reactions to things. So learning that within the past 2 years has made a lot of things I've done in the past and my actions and reactions, it's made sense of it all. Therefore, I'm still the same person, but now I'm more aware of myself as a person. I'm not Cathal, the autistic person, and Cathal, the photographer. Now I'm just Cathal.
Did you go seeking some sort of diagnosis? Was there a part of you that felt you needed some help in a mental health capacity?
I was very frustrated, a very frustrated person. Yeah, very frustrated, very agitated at times. The world didn't really seem to make sense to me. I felt there was something wrong with me. And when I met Jules, I think I had just met her when I was speaking to you last. She more or less noticed it straight away. So she softly, very gently started just dropping little Easter eggs around here and there that maybe you should read this or have a look at that, until eventually I came to the realization in my own time that, a lot of this actually relates to me. This all seems to make sense. There's other people that are going through the same thing as me. These little things annoy them and what have you. It was a gradual realization, but to be honest, I always knew that there was something different there. Yeah. Whenever I spoke to some of my family members about it, they actually said to me, Cathal, to be honest, we would be quite surprised if we found out you weren't autistic. So that was interesting, but I was lucky. Everybody was very, very supportive.
Well, it's been a few years since we last talked, so we certainly didn't have a chance to chat about the film that was made about you. Your life as a photographer, and the not insignificant changes you decided to make to your life. I Dream in Pictures is the name of the film, and here's just a few moments from the trailer.
Photography, it is 24/7. You never stop seeing photographs.
It's something that captured my soul, became everything to me, and I mean everything. That's all I thought about. I actually dreamt about photographs. I don't think mentally I could take it anymore.
I wanted to shoot international news stories.
That's what I live for. It was pretty chaotic. I truly knew about running for your life.
When I'm on these assignments, I am a voice for people that don't have a voice.
And I think the first few seconds of the commentary in the trailer alone says everything about this, your relationship with the photographic medium. Photography is 24/7. You never stop seeing photographs, although you did for a while decide not to take pictures, and we'll come to that. But generally, what is it about making or taking pictures that's simply something that for many photographers becomes an act like breathing?
Yeah, it's a subconscious thing. You know, you're constantly looking at light and seeing how the light plays off different subjects, looking at how a scene is about to evolve. If somebody's walking down the street, if they're going to eventually walk into that piece of light or shadow that you had noticed a few seconds before, this is ongoing. I don't know if a part of it is part of the ASD or not, but my mind is always, racing with these things.
You had to get kicked out of India, quote, for the film to be made. Just join the dots for me.
So what happened was I was part of a group of photographers, and we were awarded the Pulitzer Prize for our coverage of the Rohingya genocide in Bangladesh and Myanmar. And on the way back from the ceremony, I was denied entry into India, the country that I was chief photographer for Reuters in, and where my life and family was. And I subsequently never got to step foot in the country. But the reason being was we found out that it was for work I'd done in Kashmir, highlighting the conflict in Kashmir, and the government decided this guy's getting too much media attention. Like, rather than kick him out of the country, we'll just not let him back in. So it was very, very effective. I have to doff my cap to them. Then what happened was trying to find another location for me to work in. But at the same time, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. My father then, due to the sort of pressure of that, he ended up having a few mini TIAs or mini strokes. And this was all happening at the same time that I was living out of a suitcase. And then, of course, my son, because I had separated it just shortly before that, my son was living at home here in Ireland. And I decided that, you know what, fuck it. That's it. I can't take all this pressure anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. My family's falling apart here, I want to be with them. So I gave it all up. And for the next 4 or 5 years, I just I spent time with my family and went around and spent time with my mother as she sort of slipped away mentally from us. So, and then my father, unfortunately, due to the pressures of that, more or less, he passed away last year. So, yeah, it was there was quite a lot going on at the time, and I couldn't split myself between my family and my work. It wasn't possible for me to do that.
So this incredible film, I think I'm right in saying, was partly something you wanted to make. I mean, it was certainly a perfect vehicle from which to talk about the extraordinary decision to stop doing what you'd done all your life as a respected Pulitzer-winning photojournalist. How did you find those that you eventually made the film with?
Well, it's not that I found them; they found me. Because there was an article that was written by somebody that has now subsequently become a good friend, and it was basically something along the lines of why I quit the greatest job in the world or something like that. Yeah. And they read the article and they thought, oh, this sounds interesting. Actually, a number of people got in touch with me after the article looking to do a documentary or something with me. And I was quite wary because I thought, do you know what? If I'm going to do something like this, I'm going to be very open and honest. It's just the type of person I am. And I want to do it with some people that I can trust. So I eventually went with Gary and Ollie at Gambit Pictures and began the work with them. And then lockdown happened.
But actually, that didn't mean you stopped filming.
No, because there was restrictions in place, but there were things that we could do. So, but the documentary that should have maybe taken a year to make ended up taking about 3 years to make. But as I say, it was during the pandemic, so it gave me something to focus on as well, which was good. And it was also very cathartic because it allowed me time to reflect, talk about things, get them out in the open. And just think about my life, probably from a different perspective, almost from a perspective of a bystander rather than myself. It was kind of a strange situation.
You're so used to pointing your camera at other people, and it doesn't sound like, as you say, there was a catharsis involved in it. What did it feel like to have the camera turned back on you?
I had absolutely no issues with it, to be honest. I wasn't sure how I would feel, and we all have our egos and worried about how we're going to look on camera, and we've all got ideas of how we look. But to be honest, it really didn't bother me. I'm surprised as anyone by that. Yeah, I look on camera the way I looked, and that's it. I learned a lot from it, watching other people work, and I think I helped them as well because I had a rough idea of what it was they were looking for in different shots. So it became a very collaborative thing rather than me just being like a puppet and told to direct it all the time. It became slightly more collaborative. So that was very enjoyable.
Apparently you changed by the end of the filming. You describe yourself as a very different man.
Yes, definitely. Looking back on it now, I can see just how I haven't found all the answers yet, but I'm a lot more comfortable in my own self now and comfortable with my own decisions. I don't feel that I have to apologize for anything, or I'm kinder to myself now, probably, because I am pretty hard on myself. And so that's been a big thing, is that I've learned to be a lot kinder to myself.
Have you used it at all in terms of speaking to any associations or people about ASD or autism, using the film as a vehicle to explain you and talk about you? Since
I initially stopped the photography, I've ended up, I've given a lot of talks, or I've spoken at various events about mental health and my own struggles with mental health. And I think I know everybody has mental health issues, and just trying to remove the stigma that goes along with that, because it's absolute nonsense. And particularly in the profession that I work in, it's something that can be brushed under the carpet. It's not something that is a good career move to mention that, you're not feeling mentally the best at times. That's seen as a weakness, which is absolutely ridiculous. So I've used whatever little platforms I've had as an opportunity to talk about it and to get it out into the public domain as much as I can.
And Cathal McNaughton returns for part 2 of our chat shortly. Now, often our guest returns for the Extra Mile show, but we're doing something different today. The Extra Mile is our additional extra show each week, recorded for our patrons, who are the why, the very how behind this show, the Photo Walk. And this week, a very important extra episode, because I learned only yesterday about the loss of one of our wonderful extra milers, a man who, during the pandemic, became, well, I'd like to count him a personal friend, actually, and a small group that I belonged to, which met up. Do you remember the weekly quizzes that we had that maintained our sanity, our mental health during that time? For many of us, it was really, really important, these small groups that we found across Zoom that we spent our time in. Well, Dennis Lee Our friend lost his battle with cancer but a few weeks ago, and I have some thoughts about him and photography on the Extra Mile that I hope those who knew him will appreciate. Plus, I want to play back a chat that we recorded a good while back, actually, about the joy of film and press photography and optimism, because if Dennis had anything in abundance, we had lots of things in abundance, but I think his absolute joy for making pictures, his optimism about this thing that we do was wonderful.
On this week's Extra Mile.
With film as well, whenever you loaded the camera, you had to advance a certain number of frames before you knew you had a clean frame to start working. And sometimes those early frames when you're just kind of clicking through to get to number one, or in our case number three, you would get some pretty fun shots. You would get interesting and just kind of funny pictures of whatever's going on around you at the time.
Dennis Lee, or as he was known, the Captain. He is my very, very, very special guest on the Extra Mile, as we remember a friend with a smile who always had a lot to say about making a picture, or indeed 10. That's Captain Dennis Lee. It's the photo walk of a Friday. Well, we've got to a bit in the path here where it's just, there's no way I can walk along here without getting my feet wet. Honestly, this has turned more into... Oh, hang on, I found some dry land. Oh, we might just get through this bit. Ah, fantastic. Found a way. Let me get a... Oh, it's not going to be an amazing photograph. It just looks like a slightly flooded path. This is what sketchbook pictures are made for. But actually, there's quite a nice... Ooh, look at this. Quite a nice reflection of the tree in the water. Let me get this. Oh, I'm on my X100V today. And I did, as I said last week, sort out the focus problem. Here we go. Oh, hang on. There we go. So f4, shutter speed 5/50th, 160 ISO, portrait orientated. If I got down really low, not sure I can do it with all my sound equipment and stuff. I say sound equipment, notes and a microphone. No, that's fine. I was going to get right down close to the water, but knowing me, I'll just drop everything in the water. There we go, sketchbook image, flooded path. That's what we call it. Flooded path, part of a collection. I know that there may be a fair few of our wonderful community who have set out on a new mission this year to do a 365. 1 year, 365 pictures, a shot a day. Now, I know that line in the sand for most people was Jan 1st. That's the, maybe the starting tape. It's not the only way, though, to start a project. And as we have a Feb 1st approaching, and any month really can be the start of a 365, I thought I'd read this letter out. It is reasonably good timing, although perhaps I should have got to this a few weeks back. It's from Marilyn Davies, our good friend Marilyn in Australia land. Marilyn, bear with me, because there's another part of the path that is... Oh, this is impassable. Hold on, although there's a bit I can walk along on the side here. If I... here we go. Oh. I'm on the... wet foot again. I thought It's just a brook that's going all the way across the... Well, it's become a brook all the way across the path. Note to self, pups. Let's not come along this path tomorrow. Yeah, so from Marilyn. Hi, Neil. Season's greetings. Are we allowed to still say that? Thank you for all you do for the photographic community here. Well, it's my pleasure and privilege, and thank you for listening. Do you remember when we were chatting on the Extra Mile around about this time last year? Marilyn, I do, yes. But is it really a year? Obviously it is. I mentioned I was going to take on a 365 project. Well, I've just posted photo number 360 in my Flickr album, and I can hardly believe I'm so close to that finishing line. Here's a few things I've learned along the way making my 365 project, which I hope might inspire others. Number one, as I get through another long part of the path I've just given up with a soggy boot now, Marilyn. That's just what it is. Number one, in fact, I won't number them all because there's a few here. Pick up the camera every day. Almost all my shots were taken with my camera, but on the odd day that just was not possible, my phone and the Lightroom app saved me. Shooting daily really sharpened my instincts. I hear this, and a 365 does do that. A couple of years ago, is it 3 now that I did my 365 across the year? I think I got some of my best... it's an IMHO moment, this, but I think I did some of my, fondest work. Certainly from the path and certainly from the street, that's for sure. So yes, it does sharpen your instincts. I got quicker at choosing settings, much more confident with my gear. Sure, I missed a few moments, but I got plenty too. I started seeing more opportunities. The more I photographed, the more I noticed scenes that would make great images, even when I didn't have the camera in hand. I've become, that's a bit like the dreaming in pictures thing, isn't it, that I talk about with Cathal today. I've become more intentional. I'm moving away from the old spray and pray approach, and my hit rate has definitely improved. Thinking carefully about exposure, composition, timing, have all made a real difference. My photography has really improved overall. Not just about pressing the shutter, it's about thinking through exposure and composition and what could make a shot stronger. I've had my fair share of failures, but each one taught me something. Editing got better too. Shooting in RAW means editing is half the process. By experimenting with different types of images, I discovered parts of Lightroom I'd previously never touched before. Flash, the big one. That no longer scares me. I've got three speed lights. 2 Nikon, depending upon where you are in the world, SB700s, and a little Godox IT30 Pro. I used to feel uncomfortable using them, but this has changed, and I'm using all three together to shape the lights how I want. To sum it all up, says Marilyn, I'm glad I stuck with the project. Even when I was down with a winter flu, I still managed to make an image. Thank you, phone. Would I do it again? Maybe. I'm already thinking about a new challenge. Perhaps a weekly project exploring styles like minimalism or abstract. Here's the link to my Flickr account, which I will of course share on the show page today. If you'd like to take a look, would I like to take a look? Of course I would. In fact, I've already taken a look. A few shots are out of order because I forgot to add them at the time, but I'm sure I'll be forgiven for that, of course. I know what the pressure of the 365 is, Marilyn, perfectly. Until next time, stay warm. If I could, I'd send you some of our heat. Well, that would be very nice. Warmest regards, Marilyn. I shall include a link, as I say, to the project. Thank you, Marilyn, for the inspiration. The points you make are really, really important. Absolutely spot on as well. It really does change your, pun intended again for the second time of the show, your focus on photography, sharpen your instincts and so on. It does. So I'll put a link on the show page today to your work, episode 517, and I am looking forward to seeing what you're going to do next. Good boy, come on. Would you like a treat? Under our wonderful bridge. Hoo-hoo. There's no echo. You tried it last week. I think I did it on the extra mile last week. Anyway, let me get a picture. I quite like this, being under the bridge. Photographing back towards... Photographing back towards the lock and another footbridge. I know, it's a good shot. Yeah. You appreciate it too. One more. There we go. Come on, this way. All right. Okay. Hold on. would you like something? Is it that time of the walk, is it? Hold on. Let's put that down there. And you can have one of these. Here we go. There we go. Bit of ASMR. Would you like one of these ones? That's a peanut butter one. Well, so they say. Go on, you'll have our Keith saying, what, peanut butter treats? What are you doing? I suppose he's trained you perfectly to... Yes, he has, as you could hear, to provide treats or bark. Come on, you, this way. Not you, Keith, the dog. I've another letter from the mailbag in a moment. Before we do that, you do know of our wonderful trips to faraway places each year. I know that, our photographic adventures, our expeditions in many and all ways, particularly in places like India, forthcoming, and Mongolia. Oh, well, I have one a little closer to home, if you live in the UK, that is. But you're very welcome to join us. Probably one more for Europeans than coming a long distance, but you never know. It's a camping adventure, a camping trip, a little camping adventure. Maybe I should call it that. Sounds like a famous Five book. It's a camping people photography workshop. I shall work on the title. But it's something we've not tried before, and I've been itching to do this for a while. It's a tad more earthy than our previous and current adventures, and you'll need to bring your own tent, or for the posher ones in our community, a camper. But it's a real people photography workshop. And good morning. How are you?
Oh, too bad, mate.
Loving the Scotland top there, the hat.
I'm not Scots, though.
Oh, you're not Scot? Well, you can wear a Scottish hat. Come on, pups. Where were we? Yes, it's a real people photography workshop, and I've chosen to do this at a proper annual, very, very British, and I think fair to say in places, utterly English eccentric steam fair. And it's not one of the biggies, which I'm going to be cautious here, but some of the biggies can be a bit faceless. This is the kind where people meet year after year after year with their traction engines, their beloved classic motors. Do they have agility dog shows? I'm not sure this is one of those ones. But they have Wild West groups and stuff like that. So that's what I mean by eccentric. Because even though you might think of it as a rally for traction engines, etc., there's all sorts of stuff going on there. They form their very own community, and that's why I think it fits so well with what we're doing. And I'd like us to be a part of it in terms of making the most wonderful people watching stories. We have photo challenges, portrait sessions, some group photo stories to make, and I'm working on, this is new news for H, who's helping me organise it, one of our wonderful extra milers. I'm working on, H is already looking over her glasses at me, I'm working on hopefully each of us getting a chance to drive a traction engine, which is what I did when I was last there. I loved it. Bit difficult to photograph at the same time when you got several tons, is it 100 tons, whatever it is, of traction engine in your hands. But there we go. And then at the end of each evening, so we're there the Friday night, the Saturday night, so it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. At the end of each night, we'll do a good old-fashioned show Barbie, and it being a proper English steam rally, there's evening music and warm ale as much as you want over at the beer tent to round each evening off. And we've got this big tent as well, which we'll be doing some sessions in when it comes to the workshop part of the event. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and it's utterly different to anything that we've done on this show before, but I think it fits so well into our community. I have put a link on the show page, so you will find a menu item. It'll be very obvious. It's the Steam Rally one. Look up the top, and there'll be more details, i.e. where it is in England. It's more southern, so it's in the south of England. You'll find the dates and everything there as well. So come along with your tent, or I know our Keith is intending upon coming with his brand new camper. Oh, Keith, God. I tell you what, have you pitched that thing up next to my little two-man? We're going to have words. It's on the show page today, or rather it's on the website today. Go have a look, and if you'd like to come, put your name down, because we are a bit limited on this one in how many pitches we're allowed to have. I'm on that part of the walk, which is, one side we've got the canal, which is I tell you what, this is getting very close to the edge here, very close to the path. And on the other side, there's one of the fishing lakes. Is somebody actually in a tent over there? I mean, it's not the coldest day of the year by far, but honestly, really? Whew. You're tough, you fisher people, you are. Anglers, fisher people. What is it? I get in trouble for this. Is it angling by the sea? Or is it, I don't know. Anyway, look at you. They look comfortable enough. So, I know that our adventure, our steam rally, is going to be a lot of fun. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's a proper people-watching stroke photography podcast and photographic experience. It's a workshop all rolled into it, and with the opportunities each evening to go through your pictures and prepare a story. I don't know yet whether we might prepare a zine out of it for the community. Perhaps we will. It's always nice to have something that you're working together towards as a collective, isn't it? So, our first ever camping adventure at a proper English summertime steam rally. And actually, in terms of festivals and stuff, this letter, last one of the show today before we hear part 2 of my chat with Cathal, is all about festivals and running them in many respects. Hello again, Neil, says Jaki G, or Jaki G. I hope I've pronounced that correctly, Jaki. Jaki here again. It's been a minute. I'm finally back to being an extra miler. I've got a few extras to catch up with. You certainly have. The last 3 months in particular, I think you'll find when you get there. I think the last time I reached out, I asked if you had any contacts that ran festivals. Well, we held our first Lisbon Street Photography Festival in late September, and it turned out better than we imagined. We're finishing up sending our thank you posts now and working on a lineup for 2026 before we start reaching out and sending letters of interest. Hard, though, to beat the first year's lineup, but we're going to do our best. It was, now you've used the A word. You know what I feel about the A word. Awesome. But I think you can use it now because you got to hang out with Phil Penman for 5 days leading up to the festival. And that is, I think, very special. It was his first time in Lisbon, and I helped with his workshop routes. I was his man on the ground, as it were. So I wanted to thank you again. It's not directly because of you that I joined this group that went on to host this festival in Lisbon, but you definitely had a hand. I can't see how that happened, really. When I moved to Lisbon with my wife, I knew I needed to make friends and explore. After listening to your podcast over the years, I figured I'd search for some photo walk groups. You see, now I'm beginning to understand where we may have perhaps inspired you. I found one that was free, run nearly weekly, and this is where the second part comes in. I signed up and I started attending, and I made some acquaintances, some friends. And one day I ran into one of them on the way to an exhibition. He had some papers and I was intrigued, so asked what he was up to. He was getting ready for the second exploratory meeting for this festival that we've just had. I misunderstood a few things and just showed up at the meeting. Now, I know where this letter is heading, of course, because I read it. But I would have known just by reading those words there that you're just about to get involved a lot more than you were expecting. Long story short, says Jaki. I'm now the vice president of the association and organising the walks, see? So thanks for being a constant voice while I'm either walking or even getting ready for bed. You know, the amount of people that listen to this show as they're getting ready for bed. My friend, our friend, Lynn Fraser, calls it a sleep aid. Cheek. I've been running walks for the last 18 months and I've made a lot of new friends. Free and low stress. We invite anybody to join. We even encourage people who don't shoot to at least take some phone shots and share them. It's great that you're working as a fantastic community. And I really like the idea, by the way, of your walkers, your photo walkers, not necessarily being what you might call, I don't know, photographers with a capital P. Because you're saying, look, if you photograph stuff with a phone, that's absolutely fine. And I like that idea. Anyway, that was my 6 degrees of, and you've crossed out Kevin Bacon. If you don't understand the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, then I'll leave here's a note to self. I'll leave a link on the show page so that statement makes more sense. So that was my 6 degrees of crossed out Kevin Bacon and put in Neil James. Probably too long for the show, not at all, Jaki. But I figured I'd also tell you what I've been up to on a personal photography level too, while we're about it. I converted my old Sony A7R II to infrared, and I've been playing with that on my walks. More recently, I've been using flash with it. I'll attach some pics to show you the weird ways it makes things bone white while keeping lights a reddish orange. It makes for fun shutter drag shots. I'll throw in a couple of portraits too. The way infrared makes people look is always strange. I call those my vampire portraits. Anyway, let me end with a few things. I've sent you a link to a couple of Portuguese photographers I think you might enjoy. I'm looking forward to looking through their work, actually, later on this evening. And if you ever find yourself in Lisbon, don't hesitate to reach out, either for coffee or for ideas. I built around 12 photo walk routes for festival guests who've never been to Lisbon or who wanted suggested ideas or areas based on their street photography. I've a Rolodex of ideas. A Rolodex? Are they still a thing? A Rolodex? That's like a classic piece of office furniture, isn't it? A Rolodex? An actual Rolodex, Jaki, or a digital one? If one's available as a digital thing. Anyway, thanks for this. Just shows how much photography can integrate you into a community, doesn't it, really, Jaki? You've ended up running the festival. I think that's wonderful. It's impressive, I have to say. Your pictures and links, as I say, on the show page today. Love, 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 love the portraits. The infrared work makes me want to go out. Oh, I don't have a camera a spare camera, that is, that I can convert. But I'm very tempted one day to have a camera converted because the results look fantastic. They really do. So thank you for sending in your letter. I'm glad that you're involved in the festival, even though I suspect this time last year you had no idea what was awaiting in the wings for you. So let's have the concluding part now of today's interview with my guest, back to join us on the photo walk, Cathal McNaughton. In part one of our conversation, Cathal, we talked about mental health, we talked about ASD, and also the fact that you'd put the camera down for a while, and there was a point that, well, maybe you weren't going to come back to it. But 2023, you go to Ukraine, so your photojournalism starts again. I'm intrigued by this particular story because you went there to cover it not in a front line way, but to show the everyday of this place.
Well, initially I went back. It's kind of funny. This is where things changed quite a bit because at this stage I was now a managing editor at EPA, a European photo agency, and I was based in Frankfurt. And I went to Ukraine simply to help motivate, show some solidarity with our photographers there, to go over and shake their hands and speak to them, because I know how difficult it was for them day to day, living, breathing a war zone, and then somebody on the other end of the phone demanding things of them. And I just don't think that's right. So I thought it was important to go over and speak to them. But by the time I arrived there, I was like, yeah, no, fuck this. I'm going to be taking photographs. There's no way I can't take photographs when I'm here. I had a limited time there. I was only there for 2 or 3 weeks, and there was no way I was going to be able to go right to the front lines and start trying to take pictures there. I wasn't set up to do that. No. My camera or my family certainly weren't wanting me to do that. And so there was plenty of people, there photographing at the very, very pointy end and doing a better job than I would ever do. And I simply didn't think that I was swan in, take some amazing pictures and swan out. There was so much hard-hitting photography, and is so much hard-hitting photography coming from there, that I wanted to try and do something slightly different anyway to set my photos apart. So I came up with the idea of the new normal. So looking for the new normal within everyday Ukraine.
And what does that normal mean? There was a picture of a young lass running across the road, which immediately reminded me of Sniper Alley.
Yeah, well, how wars are fought evolve, but this war in particular in Ukraine seemed to move backwards in how it was fought. For a time anyway, it was fought hand to hand in the trenches. Yeah. And so it had there's a lot of similarities to maybe World War I or World War II and how it was being fought. But what I wanted to show was that, so there's images of people in a restaurant, and they're eating a lovely cafe, and there's, it's a normal setting that you would see in any sort of European city, eating al fresco outside during the summer. But then when you look in the background, there's a row of tanks. And, it's these little things that... war is always present. It's just, it's always there. There's no way for these people to escape war, but it doesn't mean that they can't go ahead and live their lives as best as they can anyway. People still go and get their flat white and get their croissant in the morning in some of these places. They still have a nice Italian meal or whatever it is they want in the evenings. It just might be that there'll be air raid sirens go off, or there may have been bombs dropping the night before or whatever, and it's hard for people to come to terms with that if they're not used to seeing these things. And that's, I wanted to show that. There's a man walking around, he's just bought flowers for somebody, he's going, it's maybe his wife or girlfriend, maybe he's done something he shouldn't have, maybe it's his, maybe it's their anniversary. Life goes on. There's a child playing in a scooter, dressed in her normal pretty dress and her hair tied back in pigtails, I think, and the backdrop behind her is tanks again. Life just continues on no matter what happens, and that's the great strength of the human condition, I guess.
I don't know whether you remember those pictures. I remember the very early pictures of Odessa with people lining the beach, just playing volleyball.
Yeah, and I wanted to witness that myself and to document it, which I did, and I found it fascinating, absolutely fascinating, and what an amazing country it is. I was there, maybe a couple of years ago, and, nothing's changed. If anything, it's got worse. Actually, the photographer one of the photographers I was over there with, I was kind of mentoring, Oleg, and who became my companion and driver and fixer when I was in Ukraine. A short time after that, he was taken at the train station to enlist as he got off the train from an assignment that I had sent him on. And now Oleg is on the front lines posting pictures every day. It's amazing how quickly things change in life,
So now you're obviously back. I know you've had exhibitions in the meantime showing some of those pictures, but you're also working on a new project, aren't you? A written one this time.
Yeah, I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book at the minute, which is almost completed, of my life, my memoirs, and I am working on the Island Project, which I want to become a book and a touring exhibition. And yeah, so I'm keeping myself pretty busy, but I have no plans to be going away anywhere in the near future. But I can't second guess myself. I've realized that over the years. since I left you or last spoke to you, I was never picking up a camera again. And since that, I've been in Ukraine and had an exhibition, and I'm now taking photos of other things. So, yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen around the corner, but I'm certainly busy anyway, and I have refound my love of photography again. Let's say that I do. I know the documentary was called "I Dream in Photos," and I do dream in photos still.
You spoke before about growing up, and I'm delighted to hear about the book. Growing up during the Troubles and that conflict, I think you felt was very much embedded in you. Does that form a part of the book?
Yeah, it has to. Anybody growing up in the north of Ireland at that time was affected by the Troubles, even if they didn't think you were, which I didn't, coming from a rural community. I thought the Troubles didn't really affect us. But then when you speak to people that aren't from here, things that you just take for granted aren't normal.
Yeah.
So it becomes the new normal. Army checkpoints. Even when you were going out as a young man, you couldn't really tell people what school you went to. You couldn't tell them your real name, different things that would indicate what religion you were or where you came from. All these things that we find just normal aren't normal at all, or far from it. Like my father, there was a car bomb went off just half a mile from our house. It was went off as a police car went past it. My father was one of the first medics on the scene. Do you know what I mean? These things just form part of your everyday life, and it seems normal. But as I say, it's not normal. And then my training or my formative years in photography were spent at covering events at the tail ends of the Troubles here in the north of Ireland. So I think I was destined for. Sort of the conflict and the less light side of life is in my veins, in my DNA. I think my partner, I think she laughs at the fact that my love for Nordic noir, because I think it suits my personality. That's just it's just part of me.
I've noticed of late, your name keeps popping up on LinkedIn. I quite like these new stories that pop up. The picture stories. I'd never seen you on LinkedIn before, and I wonder whether your relationship to social media has changed a bit. There was a recent story with Alex Higgins. I think it was one of the ones that popped up most recently for me.
Yeah, we all have to try new things and exploring new avenues of trying to make a living as well, because it's getting harder and harder.
Yeah.
I've started posting stuff on LinkedIn. It's another opportunity to share my stories, and I was shocked at just how well received some of these stories are. The Alex Higgins picture, which I took a long time ago, it's received almost 2 million views across social media, 1.8 million or something at the minute. And it's blown me away. It's very interesting just to see people's reaction to it. It's just another vehicle for trying to share my story with people and possibly, hopefully, make some sort of a living out of it, because it's increasingly difficult to do so as a photographer in this day and age.
What is the living now then? Is it the mentoring? Is it the teaching?
I think now it has to be a bit of everything. And geographically, where I'm placed in Ireland, there isn't a whole lot happening.
Yeah.
So I have to make things happen myself. What I found, especially after the Pulitzer and how I stepped away from things, the phone call they don't come anymore. People aren't emailing you asking you to work. You have to constantly be pushing yourself and driving forward. If anything, I don't know if the Pulitzer was a blessing or a curse. I have no idea. It remains to be seen.
I didn't ask you this when we spoke before. What does your son think of what you do?
That's a good question. My son, I know, is really happy that I'm back taking photographs.
Yeah.
Because that's all he ever knew me as, was a photographer. And so then to see his father not taking photographs, really, and I was kind of lost, and he maybe didn't enjoy that, but I think he likes the idea that he can tell people his dad's a photojournalist or a photographer. That I think he likes that. But now listen, he's 17, and to be honest, I don't think Dara gives a shit what I do, because Dara's 17-year-old young man, and he's embarking on his own life, and that's exactly the way I want it.
Yeah.
I want his head occupied with his own things and not with me.
He didn't follow you into your line of work, though, did he?
No, he's not interested. He's into musical theatre, and so that's the road he's going. Another extremely hard path. I wish he had become a bloody accountant or something. But he's found his passion as well very early, like I did, and so good luck to him.
I'll clearly put a link on the show page today so that people listening can go and look at your work and see the projects. But there's a new one on the way, and I know, and it won't actually be up in time. Well, as this particular interview is being recorded, the new edition is due soon, I think.
It's long overdue. I have a new website that I'm working on actually as we speak, and it should be up and running within the next week or two, and it'll maybe show you more of the direction that I'm hoping to go on.
Yeah.
It's a Cathal version. I don't know what version we're on now, maybe 5.6 or something.
Will it still have the artwork, cameraman?
It will actually, yes. There's an exclusive that nobody cares about. Yes, it will have cameraman.
What was the story? What was the story? Because I remember there being a picture of the cameraman artwork in your house, I'm sure. I can't remember the story behind it, though.
Yeah, well, again, it's right at the heart of everything I do. Cameraman is now more a philosophy that I live by.
Right.
So it's not just a name. So what it was, my son, I would be away for work often, and he drew me a picture one time, and it was of a camera. Now, he was only a child. He was maybe, 2 or 3 years old, 4. And it was of a camera flashing, and it said cameraman spelt incorrectly above it. Yeah. And I would take this with me wherever I went, and I would put it on the table just so I had something from home.
Oh, so that picture travelled around the world with you?
Yeah, it went to a lot of places with me, yes, and now it's framed and it's on my wall. But it's a reminder to me of what is actually important to me, and the importance of family. That picture has become more important to me over the years, and the actual meaning of it has become deeper over the years. So cameraman lies at the heart of everything, as does Dara, Jules, wee Patsy. They are my entire life. Although photography is also my entire life, but it's on a slightly different level than it used to be.
You've missed somebody out.
Murphy doesn't need any mention. Murphy goes above all.
Never forget the dog. It's the first law of Disney.
Yeah. Yeah, his ears just pricked up there when I mentioned his name. Yeah.
There's a question that I don't believe I asked you at the close of the first interview that we had, and I'm definitely going to ask it now. It's something that forms the tail end of all of my conversations now with the photographers, the creatives, and the characters and the people that I talk with. What is Cathal, your why?
Yeah, well, it has changed throughout the years. You know, if you ask me this why 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and now, it will change slightly. There'll be elements that will remain the same, and it depends what type of photography we're talking about, because I take a variety of different genres I'm involved in, like if it's photojournalism, if it's portraits and headshots, which I love as well, or if it's maybe slightly more artistic or, whatever. It changes. But ultimately, this isn't healthy, but I am inextricably linked to photography. Cathal McNaughton, although he shouldn't be, is a photographer, and that's how I see myself. And so whenever I wasn't taking photographs, I didn't really know who I was anymore. And so everything, and this it's something I need to work on, a lot of my self-worth is tied up in the fact that I am a photographer. So whenever people would have asked me, what do you do? And whenever I didn't take photographs for a time, I never knew what to say to them. And that was very, very hard. And it became quite awkward in conversations because I couldn't tell him I'm a photographer because I had my own view on what a photographer actually is. And so why do I do this? I think it's just because that's who I am. I am a photographer. At the very heart of it, that's what I do. Yeah, I would say that's it. Cathal McNaughton is a photographer. Now I'm also a father and a partner, but yeah, at the very heart of things, I am a photographer, and that's I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Probably not. You know, if you ask somebody that is involved in some other profession or trade, it mightn't just consume them as much. But I find it's all consuming. So I'm consumed by the fact that I'm a photographer, and I think I tried to fight that for a while, but I don't fight it anymore. I think I'm at ease with that, and I don't see it as a bad thing because I found a bit more balance in my life, and I would say the ASD diagnosis has helped immeasurably as well because it's allowed me to understand myself a lot better. But yeah, why do I do this? I guess because I love it. I hated it for a while, or I fell out of love with it, but I guess we all do that with things, you know.
And my thanks to Cathal McNaughton today for being my guest. A real pleasure to catch up, it really was. And if you have anything to say about what he was talking about in terms of autism and the arts, stroke photography, then I'd be very interested to hear from you. The email address is stories@photowalk.show. And that's it for today. But if you can't wait until next Friday and you'd like to walk a little bit further together, that's what the Extra Mile is all about. And today, as I said earlier, is a special edition about our friend, the late Dennis Lee. The postscript for today's show shortly is by Annie Dillard, and if it's possible to be gently, nay, sharply nudged by something so pertinent to do with photography and how we spend our lives doing it, it is today's PS, and that comes in a moment. Now, the play-out song today, which is in a moment, that song to think about what's been said today on the show as we've walked together, I think this is really special. I've absolutely fallen in love with this song. Now, years and years and years ago, I did a photo shoot for a musician who was just one step away, so close, from singing the upcoming, at that time, Bond film song. But, and you knew there was a but, it went to somebody else in the end. And the reason I'm being a bit cagey is because I signed something along the lines of not sharing too much. Although I'm not sure it would matter that much now, but I'm staying faithful to my word. But yes, it was one of my nearly made it moments, I think, in the Bond franchise way of being a photographer in some respects within it, because it was going to be, I don't know whether it was going to be the front cover for a single or something, but we certainly spent a whole day doing this shoot. But if I ever do talk to somebody on this show about their photography of Bond or the Bond franchise, a set photographer, and I do have an idea actually for this. This play-out song that's coming up today will be absolutely perfect for their edition. Well, hold on to it then, Neil, and play it then. No, because it might be a while until I do that interview. And I found this song, and I've been playing it such a lot, actually. So I wanted to use it as today's play-out song. The title is fantastic as well. And frankly, it could be a Bond film title. No Time for Eternity. I can see it. So, postscript in a mo, a nod to some of our wonderful helpers and volunteers and those that spend time really on the show. It would not happen each week without them. A nod, more than a nod, to Neil Ford for stopping the IT from sulking or me sulking about the IT. I'm not quite sure which way round that should be. Andrea Gilpin keeps an eye on Instagram. Kelly Mitchell does the same for Facebook. And Kelvin Brown is in charge of Flickr. Plus, Michael Brennan gathers the music into a Spotify playlist that we feature on the show. And today, Michael, do not forget to put this one in there. I'm working on it now, Neil. I've no doubt. So the postscript for the show, as we go into our play-out song today, is from Annie Dillard, an American writer, best known for paying, I love this description by the way, paying fierce attention to ordinary life and refusing to rush past it. She was born in 1945 in Pittsburgh and became widely known in the 70s with Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, a book that grew out of her habit of walking the same patch of land in Virginia and noticing what most of us walk straight past. Now, if that doesn't shout at you as a photographer, I don't know what will. But this is what she said. It's our PS today. How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives.
My baby dances with the devil. I wanna know what's on his mind. Shaky hands so sentimental. I sugarcoat between my lies. Inside a small cloud asking why. I'm afraid we're out of time.
The Photo Walk is a Loading Zone production.